Hi everyone, it's H, and in this video, what we're going to go through is my first wholesale order, how it went, what I would do differently now, and what actually happened. This would have been years and years ago now. Now, what happened? Well, I'll say what happened like it was a tragic event. No. So, how I accumulated this first supplier was a simple case of going onto Google and finding a supplier in that way. Literally Googling, I think it must have been like Home Wholesale UK or Home Products Wholesale UK, something like that. Obviously something I would 150 million% not recommend now. Okay, but obviously at the time I didn't know any better. Saw all these products, cross-reference on Amazon. At the time I was using, I can't really remember the profit calculation. So I don't think I was using a profit calculation software actually, now that I think of it. I was literally entering in the ASINs into Amazon for what looked profitable. I wasn't using no seller amp, nothing like that when I first started. Putting the ASINs into Seller Central, waiting 15 minutes for them to be uploaded in the inventory, looking at the net proceeds, entering these net proceeds, these fees into a spreadsheet, then seeing how much profit I was making. So that's what I was doing at the time. So it was, obviously I'm not going to name the supplier I bought from because I don't want to drag them through the mud or anything. So placed this order that I found via Googling for a wholesaler. Okay, and all the stock looked like, on the data side of things, I was like, okay, this is profitable, it's gonna sell. I didn't do any historical analysis. None of the stuff which obviously I would do now. It was literally just a case of, oh, that's selling for £10 on Amazon. This wholesaler's got it for £2. It's profitable. Let's send it in and sell it. Boy, that was a mistake. So obviously now I know what I would do differently. Obviously, I wouldn't even say now. Over the last 2 years, it's been done differently, but obviously we're going back like 5 years now. So obviously, when I placed the order, I thought, great, this looks amazing. I was so gassed to get that account open. I was like, amazing, like I'm gonna be rich, right? I still remember placing this order, and yeah, stock landed in Amazon. Sales were coming through. But very quickly, it became very clear to me that, okay, I can't really replenish stock from this supplier. Okay, the profits have finished with this order. Okay, because as the stock started running out, the listing prices obviously were going down. So that obviously led me to think, okay, why is this happening? Now, in hindsight, obviously, I didn't do any historical analysis. And obviously, the supply which I bought from was way too easily accessible. Okay, you can't be buying from suppliers on Google expecting there to be any sort of longevity there, because there just won't be. Okay, so you've got to acquire and develop strategies and methods to find unsaturated suppliers which are profitable. Okay, these methods obviously I've accumulated now after learning such lessons and wasting obviously time trying to develop, like even with that supplier, I was literally on the phone trying to develop relationships with, I don't even think it was a sales rep. It must have just been a guy that worked in the warehouse, because it's not like now looking back, I would never even contact this company. Like, forget the fact that it's easily accessible on Google. Just the way their website is, the way their company's set up, the way their warehouse looks. I wouldn't even touch it with a barge pole, if that's, I'm pretty sure that's a saying of some sorts. So I'm pretty sure I was trying to develop a relationship with a guy that literally just worked in the warehouse. I was literally there on the phone. Obviously at the time I didn't know much about negotiation, who I had to talk to. I was literally on the phone chatting to some random warehouse worker, like, okay, so what can we do? Can we like take volume orders? Not knowing what I was actually doing. But obviously it's quite funny now to look back at. So what I do differently, first of all, I wouldn't even like contact the supplier or source for suppliers in that way, not using Google. Obviously, we do historical analysis using Keeper, obviously use Seller Amp to calculate profitability. That's a given. Also vet the supplier properly, because I wouldn't contact that company now. Not the fact that they're not legitimate, but the fact that I now, when it comes to vetting, we also vet suppliers and make decisions on whether or not these can be profitable for us. Straight off the bat, that supplier is never going to be profitable for us over the long term, just because of even forgetting about how easily accessible it is on Google, looking at certain data points, which obviously I've picked up over the years and I cover in my mentorship. If you're interested, link in the description to book a free application call. Certain data points to look at, which tells us whether or not a supplier will be able to move on pricing somewhat. Okay, so that's another reason why I wouldn't even touch that supplier now. So obviously that order, right? That was a huge, I wouldn't even say that order, but like obviously the first few orders were like, it could have gone one or two ways. Either A, people would have given up, I'm like, okay, this is very saturated, or B, for me it was a case of, okay, hang on a second, what do I have to do differently to make it work? Okay, we have to analyze our listings properly, analyze our historical data properly. Okay, we've got to find our suppliers in a different way. Okay, we're going to find, or these listings are going to tank if they're so easily accessible. We've got to vet our suppliers properly. We've got to make sure these suppliers can actually be profitable for us. Okay, we've got to know who we're actually talking to, or we want to be talking to develop these relationships. We've got to understand how to negotiate with these companies, all these things that come with it. Okay, so obviously they're all the things I do differently now. Things like I've just said, finding more difficult to find supply, develop relationships with the right sorts of companies, vet them properly, analyze properly, all of these things, right? So that's why the key takeaway for this is, right, like on paper, when I first started, I was like, great, this is amazing. I've got my first account open. I've got access to all these profitable products, sent me and made a bit of profit. But then it was like, okay, on paper that was great, but for the end goal that I'm really after here, which is consistent long-term profits, at the time, it never met that requirement for me. So a piece of advice I'd give and a takeaway I'd give is, if you're just starting, right, and let's say you go in and try and start yourself without any help, without any mentorship, fair enough, but do not let the first supplier that you work with get you down if it doesn't work out, because 9 times out of 10, in let's say a year's time or 2 years' time, you can look back and think, why on earth did I do that with that supply and try and do that? Okay, so just bear in mind, key takeaway, if you're just starting, right, you are probably going to make a mistake with your first supplier. But what you can take away from this video is make sure you don't make the same mistakes as me. Make sure you're contacting suppliers other people can't find and saturated suppliers. Make sure obviously you're doing your historical data analysis. Make sure you vet these suppliers and actually have data to suggest that these guys can move on pricing and you can actually negotiate with these guys, and make sure you're talking to the right sorts of people within the company. So a nice little short and sweet video there. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, and also subscribe if you are new here, because YouTube's telling me a lot of you aren't subscribed. I've literally just made that up. I haven't gone into like all the analysis of it. I just see other YouTubers saying it. So if that's convinced you to subscribe, great. But yeah, I'll catch you guys or gals in the next one. Any video suggestions, comment them down below as well.